Imagine the sun has just disappeared. 30,000 years ago? That isn't peaceful. It's terrifying. The air grows colder by the minute. Every shadow could be hiding glowing eyes. Strange sounds echo through the darkness, but you can't see what made them. You gather with a small group. Nobody wanders off. Nobody wants to be alone. Then, someone feeds a few dry branches into a pile of glowing embers. The flames leap upward. Suddenly, everything changes. The predators stay back. The cold retreats. Faces appear out of the darkness. And without anyone planning it, nobody leaves. Thousands of generations later, we still do the exact same thing. Go camping, build a bonfire, pull up a chair, and just stare. But why? What did fire give our ancestors that we still can't seem to live without? At first, the answer seems obvious. Fire kept people warm, it cooked food, it scared away dangerous animals. Mystery solved. Except that doesn't explain why we don't simply light the fire and walk away. Instead, we stay. We watch the flames dance for hours. Conversation becomes easier. Silence somehow feels comfortable. Even complete strangers seem a little less strange. Something deeper is happening. To understand it, you have to imagine life before the campfire. Your day begins with sunrise. Every hour is spent searching. Food, water, shelter. Danger is everywhere. There isn't much time to simply exist. Then night arrives. Normally, darkness ends the day, but fire changes the rules. For the first time in human history, the day doesn't end when the sun disappears. It keeps going. That extra time may have changed everything. Think about it. You can't hunt very well in the dark. You can't gather berries. Travel becomes risky. So, what do? You sit. You look at one another. And eventually, you talk. At first, maybe it's just warnings. Don't go near the river. I saw wolves. The fruit over there made someone sick. Useful information. But once survival stories become common, something unexpected happens. People begin adding details. The giant bear becomes even bigger. The successful hunt becomes more dramatic. The brave hunter becomes a legend. Some stories aren't just remembered, they're improved, generation after generation. Without realizing it, humans may have invented entertainment. But stories weren't just for fun, they became survival manuals disguised as adventures. A child listening beside the fire could learn where danger lived without ever facing it. One exciting story might prevent a deadly mistake years later. The campfire became the world's first classroom, except nobody called it school. It was simply another night. Then, another mystery appears.
The people around the fire aren't doing exactly the same thing. Some are speaking, others are listening. Someone is repairing a tool. Someone else is watching the edge of the darkness. Without anyone assigning jobs, the group begins working together. Fire doesn't just gather people, it organizes them. And once humans start cooperating better than any other animal, everything changes. Larger groups survive. Knowledge spreads faster. Ideas no longer disappear when one person dies. Instead, they live inside the memories of everyone else. But the fire may have been changing something even more personal. Your brain. Have you ever noticed how difficult it is to stop watching flames? Scientists have found that watching a fire can actually reduce stress and lower blood pressure. Odd, isn't it? After all, fire is dangerous, so why does it calm us? Perhaps because for hundreds of thousands of years, a controlled fire meant something incredibly rare. You were safe, for one night at least. Your family was nearby. Predators stayed farther away. Food was cooking. The worst part of the day was over. Maybe your brain learned to associate flickering flames with relief itself, a signal that for just a little while you could finally relax. Even our sleep may have been shaped by those evenings. Instead of everyone falling asleep at once, people likely drifted off one by one while others stayed awake, feeding the fire and watching for danger. Some became early sleepers, others naturally stayed awake longer. Different sleep schedules weren't a problem, they became protection. Someone was almost always alert.
And if that's true, the campfire wasn't only changing the night, it was quietly changing the rhythm of human life. Then something remarkable happened. The fire became more than heat. It became a destination. People returned to it after every hunt, every journey, every victory, every loss. Births were celebrated there. Plans were made there. Arguments ended there. Stories began there.
Long before cities, before books, before the internet, there was a glowing circle of light in the darkness where information, memories, laughter, and trust were exchanged every single night. In a way, every modern gathering still follows that ancient blueprint. Replace the flames with a dinner table, a coffee shop, the living room, even the glow of a television. The technology changed, the instinct didn't. Humans still build circles. We still face one another. We still tell stories after the work is done.
Because that's exactly what our ancestors practiced for thousands upon thousands of nights. Maybe that's why campfires feel strangely timeless. You don't need instructions. Nobody teaches you where to sit. Nobody explains when to speak. You simply know, as if somewhere deep inside your mind, you've done this before. Not because you remember it, but because your species does. The fire itself was never the whole story. It wasn't just a tool. It became a stage, a meeting place, a classroom, a theater, a place where ideas survived long enough to become culture. Without those countless evenings around flickering flames, language may have grown more slowly. Cooperation might have remained limited. Civilization itself could have taken a very different path, all because our ancestors decided not to leave when the fire was lit. The next time you find yourself staring into a campfire without knowing why, remember this. You aren't simply watching burning wood, you're participating in one of humanity's oldest rituals, a quiet tradition that once kept us alive, taught us who we were, and slowly transformed frightened survivors in the dark into storytellers who could build civilizations.